Sometimes you'll have to take a break from your channel. Sometimes you want to return to your channel's roots. Sometimes you'll listen to the remake version of a classic Disney song and get so upset that you bang out a 3,600 word script in a matter of hours. Hi, my name is Aster, and I can show off my arms for thematic reasons, so there you go. Okay, I'm gonna go get a sweatshirt now. I wouldn't say Gaston is my favorite Disney villain song, but it's undeniable in its catchiness comedy and subtle yet important storytelling. We'll get to this later, I don't want to reveal it just yet, setup and payoff and such. The 2017 live action Beauty and the Beast had a take on Gaston, to say the least. The first thing that should stand out to a curious listener is the time. 4.5 minutes, a full 90 seconds longer than the original. That's 50% more Gaston per Gaston, and that's not always a good thing. Let's start with a look at the visuals, like we often do. Original, blue cold outside, red warm inside. Simple color theory. In the remake, the outside is blue and red due to the presence of torches, while the inside is like yellowish. It looks almost hazy in there, and the beige walls stand out. I can't feel nearly the same warmth of the bar as I can in the original. A big part of this is perspective. The original has a perspective that shows the deep orange flooring and makes it a big part of the shots. The shadows are heavy from the fire. The remake somehow looks more artificially lit despite being live action. The bar is also quite expansive in the remake. It looks like it's the size of a high school cafeteria, removing a sense of small-town intimacy. There's just too many people in here. As for the actual song, the original has a real lead-in. You could hear the general backing playing under the spoken part. Actually, calling it a spoken part is doing it a disservice. Listen to how it works with the rhythm.
Who does she think she is? That girl has tangled with the wrong man.
With the song being in 3/4 time, it has 6/8 notes per measure. With that in mind, it's perfect that the first sentence here is 6 syllables. Even if the other sentences aren't, they're delivered with Richard White's booming voice.
Dismissed, rejected, publicly humiliated.
You can tell it's going to lead into a song. When Lefou gives the final spoken line before the song kicks in, it's held and exaggerated in such a way that the transition to singing feels natural.
You've got to pull yourself together. Gosh, it disturbs me to see you get.
Not to mention, Lefou's line here is a direct, blunt, "You've got to pull yourself together." What does the remake offer us?
I will never marry you, Gaston.
You know, there are other girls.
Wow, how encouraging. Oh, there's always more fish in the sea, bro.
Great hunter doesn't waste his time on rabbits.
Gosh, it disturbs me to see you, Gaston.
Having Gaston say the final spoken line makes Lefou's singing jarring. Like, where did that come from? Oh, and this delivery.
Looking so down in the dumps.
I guess using the body-launching punch from the cartoon wouldn't have worked, that makes sense. Now, the obvious. What on earth was that delivery? It's so sudden, forced, and downright ugly. I can see what he was going for. He wanted to put a lower affectation on a word we associate with being low. He just went too far. The original does it far more subtly.
Looking so down in the dumps.
Also, removing Lefou grabbing Gaston's face makes Gaston's violence seem even more unwarranted.
Every guy here'd love to be you, Gaston, even when taking your lumps.
So I do admire Josh Gad's attempts to put his own spin on the performance. Plays are like that. Each actor will have their own take on a script. That's normal. However, Gad's interpretation is to over-enunciate everything and change his delivery every 2 seconds.
In town, as admired as you, you're everyone's favorite guy.
Listen to the original.
No man in town as admired as you. You're everyone's favorite guy.
Jesse Corti, Lefou's original actor, has a more consistent sadness to his voice. I can buy that he feels bad for his friend, even if he's using a sillier tone. Josh Gad just sounds kind of facetious, like he's leaning too hard into the comedy too early. I don't like whatever that little "yeah" was. The original had a longer hold, too. Now, we're in the main part of the song. Like many remake songs, the mixing favors the instrumentals over the singing. That accordion is new for this part of the song, and it's prominent. It blends with Josh Gad's voice in a way that muddies it. The original used a more subtle backing.
Gaston, no one's quick as Gaston. No one's next as incredibly thick as Gaston.
Makes sense, it's the beginning of the song and there's only one singer right now. I won't be focusing much on the instrumentals in this review though. There's a lot to cover lyrically and I don't want to be here all day.
Says incredibly thick as Gaston. There's no man.
Of course, there's no somewhat gross neck-cracking scene in the original. The original had a fun sequence where Lefou steals a man's belt while saying "slick" and then putting the belt around Gaston's neck, which Gaston is able to cartoonishly break through with pure muscle. Why Lefou would perform chiropractic on a rando to prove Gaston's strength, I'm not sure. With the cartoon physics gone, Gaston's reaction to Lefou's praise is just to sit there blankly.
There's no man in town if his
peeved or depressed or anything, and his body language is neutral too. For the next line, the remake gives us our first group delivery.
Perfect, a pure paragon.
Here's why that bugs me. In the original, the group comes in after Lefou says this,
You can ask any Tom, Dick, or Stanley.
which works as a cue for others to join in.
Why? Spin like Gaston, okay, big like Gaston. No.
Having a group come in before that line feels rather arbitrary. The remake does have the other male bar patrons come in after they'd prefer to be on, but way more obnoxiously. Gad got Disney famous through Olaf, but he is not currently playing Olaf. He's playing Lefou and butchering the perfect comedic timing of this song. Of course, so are the extras here, and whoever directed them to snap into the next verse instead of building up to it with Lefou. It makes it seem like the other patrons don't actually admire Gaston, they're just kind of going along with it.
Like Gaston, who breaks hearts like Gaston, who's much more than the sum of his parts like Gaston.
Here's the first of the added and changed lyrics, as the remakes often have. Remember, these were the original lyrics.
Spin like Gaston, okay, big like Gaston. No one's got us well cleft in his jib like.
Now, the remakes lyrics are actually from the demo.
Hearts like Gaston, who breaks hearts like Gaston, who's much more than the sum of his parts.
Applying Occam's razor and trying to find the simplest reasoning to this change, my guess is the remake wanted to get rid of the word kingpin due to its association with organized crime. Of course, that means the meaning of the stanza has changed from Gaston is unparalleled in his stature among the townsfolk to Gaston plays a bar game well and women think he's hot. That's a bit humanizing in a song that is otherwise placing the man on a pedestal. It also removes a word with a heavily negative association from a villain, the bad person. He's a villain, in case you forgot. The dummied out stanza isn't bad, of course, but consider why it may not have made it to the final cut. Howard Ashman was an extremely particular lyricist. It's possible those lines were removed for the sake of time, yes, animation's expensive, but it's also completely possible he simply thought those lines didn't fit or achieve anything. Yes, it's a nice tribute to have some of his original lyrics in there, but you can't just throw in things that were removed without knowing the reason for their removal in the first place.
As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating.
Hey, have you guys ever noticed this is actually an incredibly clever slant rhyme in the middle? As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidating? That's crazy. I like how Gaston takes interest the moment he's praised by a group specifically. He's probably heard it 100 times from Lefou, but from a half dozen random bar patrons, that makes him happy. He gets to flex his ridiculously large muscles. The muscles that, of course, the live action couldn't be bothered to give him. Yeah, when I want to show off my stature, you know what I do? Lounge in a baggy shirt. At least stand up tall, come on. Luke Evans has a nice voice. He's got plenty of mainstream theater experience. However, Richard White, Gaston's original voice actor, wasn't just theater, he was opera. Opera singers rely on intense breath support and specific voice placement to achieve a loud but clear and resonant sound. Resonant is the key word here. White's singing voice for Gaston is deep and powerful, and he's a tenor by training. He doesn't even sing in a deep range most of the time.
The specimen, yes, I'm intimidating.
Evans, while talented, just doesn't have the same qualities to his voice, and that really takes away from the booming, strong presence of Gaston's singing and Gaston as a whole.
I needed encouragement. Thank you, Lefou.
That's another changed line, by the way. Here's the original. Don't worry, though. The remake offers a bit of comedy.
Too much?
Yep.
Get it? They halted the momentum of the bar song to acknowledge that this position is awkward. That means it's funny. And I have to address the elephant in the room. Lefou is supposed to be gay in the remake and in love with Gaston, with plausible deniability, of course. That's why he's being especially handsy here. It's funny because, you know, it's gay. That's the joke. Disney does not have a good track record with gay representation. I'm gay myself, but I don't think I'm equipped to discuss this, nor do I have the time. In the original, Lefou had just accidentally splashed Gaston with a bunch of beer. That's why a fight breaks out. And once again, it's cartoony, so you don't have to take it seriously. In the remake, Gaston just punches a man with no provocation, which begs the question of why anyone likes this guy. This punch also did absolutely nothing. The extra doesn't seem to react at all. This line in the remake is accompanied by Gaston literally dousing 2 candles. I don't think that was the point, director. Dousing lights is being used in the same vein as knocking someone's lights out. It's about fighting, not literal lights.
No wrestling match, nobody fights like Gaston.
I didn't need to see that. How would that even happen? Why would that even happen? If they're implying something, I don't want an explanation. Anyway, here's another line change. The original follows up that stanza with this.
What is curly and brawny?
As you see, I've got biceps to spare.
Gaston's physicality is important to the narrative because physicality in general is important to the narrative. Gaston is enormous, and as he says himself,
Every last inch of me's covered with hair.
while this seems like an innocuous punchline, consider his target later in the film, the Beast, an enormous man covered in hair, dehumanized by the village. I don't think that's a coincidence, Chief. The remake eschews this stanza entirely, possibly because Gaston's actor isn't even close to matching the animated character's stature. That's not a diss, Gaston is unrealistically huge. Evans is about 6 feet tall from what I can find. That's above average, but not especially remarkable. And the costuming department had no interest in making Evans appear larger or at all muscular. They could have gotten some J.J. Watt looking guy and dubbed his singing. I don't know. Anyway, we get this stanza, which was actually from the demo recording as well.
When I hunt, I sneak up with my quiver. Beasts of the field say a prayer.
Said demo actually has the size-related stanza, by the way. This section about Gaston's hunting is found towards the end of the demo. That aside, we once again ask the question, was this removed for a reason?
First I carefully aim for the liver.
Quick break to call Josh Gad's acting irritating once more. With Lefou being gay now, does any of this feel on the nose to you? Maybe stereotypical? It's just me. Back to the matter at hand.
And I shoot from behind. Is that fair?
I don't care.
I'd say the answer to whether this is a valid removal is yes. The vast majority of the song, and its point in the story, is about how the village views Gaston, and like I said, physicality is key. Almost all of Gaston's lines in the original are about his size or physical appearance. He prizes his physical strength, a sign of his manliness, over everything. A section where he talks about sneaking up from behind and taking unfair shots undermines that, because it makes it seem like he's more about underhanded tactics than power. We also don't know exactly when during production this demo was made. Gaston's character might have been different by then. There is a reason Ashman took that line out of the final version. In the remake, Gaston follows up this stanza by terrifying the bar patrons. Which again, works in a cartoon, not so much in live action. In the original, this line is paired with a visual of Gaston finishing a lost chess match by swatting the board off the table.
Like Gaston.
Comedic timing. The joke is obvious and it's cute. The remake doesn't have this, so I guess we're supposed to assume Gaston is like genuinely smart. The remake does, however, put a lot of emphasis on Gaston spitting, a gag that lasted 2 seconds in the original.
Especially good at expectorating.
See how that doesn't harm the rhythm of the song? A bar song style number like this one should sound like it could keep going indefinitely. It's swaying and catchy, perfect for drunk townsfolk. The remake does not get this. Momentum killed. Also, ew. Despite the remake getting rid of the brawny stanza, it does keep this one.
The lad I ate 4 dozen eggs every morning to help me get large.
I know I'm harping on this, but it's a movie. It's visual, and visual storytelling matters. In live action, my disbelief is considerably less suspended. You can't tell me this man is
The size of a ball.
after showing that his wimpy lackey is as wide as he is. Like, there are ways you can give actors artificial muscles. You could put them in suits that make them look larger. There is no reason to not do this. Anyway, this section is towards the end of the original. It's right before the final refrain. His hunting prowess is first noted by the townsfolk, not him. He just goes along with it. This draws attention to his success in hunting, not his tactics. Now, the soundtrack version of the original does continue after this.
Who's a man among men? And let's say it once more.
And we'll get back to that when the remake gets to his ending, because it still has a ways to go. Like I said, 4.5 minutes. For some reason, we have to make it through an incredibly lame sword fight sequence. It's directed less like a movie and more like a theme park stage play, so it's just corny. You can get away with this on a stage, you don't want someone smacking their co-star across the head, but on the screen, it's a waste. I don't feel the strength of anything here. I get it, he's participating in a duel. People are testing him to see just how strong he is so they can sing his praises even more. But Gaston is a brute. Wouldn't it be more fitting if he was completely overpowering these guys rather than using skill? Remember, in a wrestling match, no one bites like Gaston. He's not exactly elegant. Narratively, Lefou putting down the money and starting the duel means he's the one giving Gaston the opportunity to show off. It's a pick-me-up for Gaston that makes sense, even if the sequence itself is visually awful and completely breaks the flow of the song. A lot of the song in the remake revolves around Lefou. He's often in focus of the shot, he's the one driving things. The remake is trying to make him into a real character. This is actually a massive problem. See, here's the thing about Gaston as a character. He isn't the real villain. He's an antagonist, yes. He's a terrible person, yes. But Beauty and the Beast isn't a man versus man story, it is a man versus society story. The villain is the town. Gaston is simply a personification. The entire village is shallow and judgmental. That's why they raise up someone like Gaston. Think about other villain songs from the era. Ursula sings hers alone. Scar has backing but is undoubtedly the lead. Frollo sings alone. Gaston's actor is never considered the lead of Gaston in the credits. It's a team effort. Gaston is the way he is because the village raised him and put him in that position. He's not the illness, he is a symptom. That means you have to be careful about how the village sings about him, because if you aren't, it might go against the MO of the village. The remake version focusing heavily on Lefou makes it more his song, harming the narrative. He didn't need to be a full character, he was fine just being a little comedic side thing. After the sword fight, there's a set of lyrics that are entirely new. Brains. The townsfolk that gossip about Belle for being a reader are celebrating Gaston for his brains. Gaston can barely read. The earlier line about wit was ironic.
Like Gaston, who can make up these endless refrains like Gaston.
Get it? Do you get the joke? It's the fourth wall. It's meta. Do you get the...
Those antlers in all of my decorations.
In this new structure, what does that have to do with anything? That's a non sequitur to the previous lines. He was just talking about singing and entertaining. Why are his interior design preferences relevant now? Okay, we're finally at the outro. Elaborated from the original, of course. The production is way murkier, the cast is way bigger, the foot stomps are way too forward in the mix. The original in general is far more restrained, as the original versions often are compared to the remakes. The remake versions like to hold notes, use instrumental ornamentations, and throw in larger orchestras whenever possible, even if it completely smears the production and mixing.
Who's a super success, don't you know, can't you guess? Who's a super success, don't you know, can't you guess?
The remakes also just love their snarky jokes. In the soundtrack version and the demo, the song ends with Lefou failing to spell Gaston's name. It's both a cute touch and a subtle jab at the town's anti-intellectualism.
T-E-G-A-S-T-O. Oh,
Lefou even gives up at O to create a neat little double meaning. O like the letter, and O like, forget it. Josh Gad, meanwhile, couldn't help himself.
It just occurred to me that I'm illiterate and I've never actually had to spell it out loud.
Yes, Olaf, we know. When people can't spell simple words, it's a sign of illiteracy. We get it.
Out loud before.
When making a new version of older media, you're allowed to take artistic liberties. Culture evolves, and sometimes updates can be beneficial or even necessary to the understanding of the story. However, you have to know why you're making the changes. Are you following the narrative or the themes, or are you doing it just to do it? That's what bothers me. A lot of the changes made to Gaston in the live-action remake only hurt its place in the narrative, as though the director saw it as just a comedy piece and nothing more. There's a lack of understanding about the movie's original intent. Yes, Gaston has always been a funny song, but it's also crucial to establishing Gaston's relationship with the town. Belle introduces him, but this song solidifies him as an antagonist, that culmination of the village's culture. While Belle finds Gaston to be a problem, her actual conflict is with the entire village. She doesn't sing, "I want to escape Gaston," she sings, "I want more than this provincial life." Beauty and the Beast is a simple story, but it's often misinterpreted. Clearly, in the 2010s, even Disney itself didn't get it. I hope you enjoy this analysis. You know, there's a live-action Moana coming out later this year. Live-action Tangled has been announced too. Do you think Disney will screw up these remakes completely? If so, how? Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.